Every single day, millions of young minds are quietly being reshaped. Welcome to this explainer. For years, we've talked about digital life using a really simple metric, screen time. We count the minutes and hours like we're tracking calories on a diet. But today, we're going to step back and look at the bigger picture. We're not just looking at how devices occupy our children's time. We're exploring how these digital environments are actively rewiring their reflexes, their desires, and the very foundation of their character. Usually, when a new app or tablet enters our homes, we ask ourselves one primary question: is this technology useful? It seems incredibly logical, doesn't it? But what if I told you that is actually a remarkably shallow way to evaluate the tools our kids use? Sure, a tool might be incredibly useful. It can help with homework, it can connect them with friends, it can entertain them on a long drive. But beneath that apparent usefulness, it could be quietly training the exact wrong developmental reflexes.
So, we need a complete paradigm shift. We have to move past that surface-level question of usefulness and anchor ourselves to a much deeper question. What kind of person is this helping a child become? That's the lens we're going to use for everything we unpack today. You see, technology isn't just neutral furniture in the background of our lives. It is an active, immersive environment, and we really need to ask what patterns of attention, expectation, and desire that environment is rehearsing day after day.
Let's explore our first core concept, the purpose of childhood as a protected space.
Childhood is not just some waiting room we have to get through as fast as possible. It is a highly active, absolutely critical period of life. This is when judgment, self-control, and moral instincts are being forged under pressure. Think of it like those old walled neighborhoods from history. The wall isn't there because the inside is inherently weak. It's there because what's inside is still forming. Protecting childhood isn't about being nostalgic for the good old days. It's a highly practical necessity. A developing mind desperately needs time, boundaries, and a bit of distance from the relentless demands of the adult world. Their internal compass needs time to set before society demands they go full speed.
Now let's look at how technology actually trains these forming minds through the sheer power of repetition.
When digital devices enter a child's protected space, they act as an active training ground. We become who we are based on what happens again and again and again. Imagine walking through a field of tall grass. One person walking through once barely leaves a mark, but thousands of footsteps over the exact same path that eventually bends the grass into a permanent, hard-packed track. Attention works the exact same way. Here's our first irreducible truth. Small, repetitive habits, the tapping, the scrolling, the constant checking, they aren't just passing the time. They are physically bending a child's mind into a permanent track. They're rehearsing exactly how that child will handle discomfort, how they'll seek approval, and how they'll deal with everyday life.
This brings us to a massive, invisible trade-off: attention, rewards, and the opportunity cost. A growing mind simply cannot focus on everything at once. It has to choose, and that means every single digital engagement carries a massive opportunity cost. An hour spent swiping is an hour not spent in silence or in a deep conversation or just noticing the physical world around them. Think of technology like a flashlight in a pitch-black room. The flashlight doesn't make the room any bigger, it just dictates exactly what you can see. Screens make brightly lit, highly stimulating inputs incredibly easy to see and chase, but the hidden cost is profound. Once a child's brain adapts to only seeing what's brightly lit and moving at lightning speed, ordinary offline life, like reading a physical book or just waiting in line, suddenly feels intolerably dull.
And that brings us to one of the most wildly misunderstood concepts in modern parenting: boredom. Boredom is not a crisis that needs to be instantly solved with a glowing screen. Actually, it's the mind's waiting room. It is a vital training ground. When a kid is bored, they are forced to build the emotional capacity to tolerate delay. They learn to spark their own imagination without being spoon-fed a prompt. If a screen is always there to fill every tiny gap in their day, those essential, self-directed muscles literally never get exercised.
This dynamic fundamentally shifts how children experience human connection too. Digital systems are designed to offer instant, unpredictable rewards, likes, alerts, quick texts. It is exactly like living on a diet of highly packaged snacks. Sure, a snack will technically stop your hunger in the moment, but it doesn't offer the deep, complex nourishment of a full family meal. Digital contact might cure a temporary pang of loneliness, but it completely lacks the eye contact, the natural friction, and the required patience of real, face-to-face human connection. Ultimately, it leaves children feeling relationally underfed.
Let's move to our next point. Exposure is not readiness. Just because they have access doesn't mean they have maturity.
The internet is, by design, a completely boundaryless place. It instantly collapses natural physical boundaries. exposing children to incredibly complex adult concepts way before their brains are equipped to process them. This leads to a massive failure mode for us adults. Think about it. You would never hand a child the keys to a car just because they figured out how to turn the radio on, right? Yet we constantly confuse a child's comfort with a smartphone interface for true wisdom and readiness. Just because a 10-year-old can seamlessly navigate an app doesn't mean they have the emotional competence to handle the infinite, unfiltered adult world that device unlocks. Exposure without readiness severely distorts development.
And if we don't actively step in, the environment simply takes over by default. Imagine a house with all its windows left wide open during a really dusty season. You don't need a malicious villain standing outside shoveling dirt into your living room. The dust is just going to enter quietly and persistently on its own. Tech platforms aren't necessarily evil villains either, but their core designs are absolutely optimized to keep users moving, reacting, and scrolling. Without deliberate, intentional boundaries, those platform designs quietly become the default teacher of your child's values and habits.
Let's pull all of this together and look at the precise mechanisms at play here. Technology essentially trains minds through 4 main channels. First, repetition trains habit. The mind literally becomes what it practices. Second, reward trains desire. The brain learns exactly what to seek out for a quick hit of dopamine. Third, attention trains focus. The mind learns what to ignore in favor of the brightest stimulus. And finally, the environment trains character. The child slowly absorbs the unwritten rules of the digital world around them. This is the exact science of how technology actively participates in forming a child's deepest reflexes.
Which leads us to the reality of everyday life. The hidden digital trade-offs. Because let's face it, in the real world, perfect choices just don't exist. We live in a constant state of trade-offs. The mature, realistic way to handle digital life isn't just screaming no to everything. It's understanding exactly what we are trading away in exchange for these tools. For example, the apparent benefit of a new device is almost always extreme convenience or instant entertainment. But the hidden trade-off? When everything is perfectly convenient, a child gets far less practice doing hard things. They experience zero friction, and as a direct result, their long-term patience takes a massive hit.
We see the exact same illusion with social media and messaging. The apparent benefit is constant connection, but the hidden trade-off is a tragic loss of depth. The sheer ease of firing off a digital message strips away the vital interpersonal friction of real life. The awkward pauses, the effort of reading facial expressions, the heavy lifting of relationship repair, those are the very things that actually teach true empathy and a genuine sense of belonging.
And surprisingly, this even applies to what we'd consider good screen time. Imagine a household heavily focused on exam prep. A tablet gives incredible, instant access to lectures, study guides, and past papers. It looks entirely beneficial. But if that same device is constantly buzzing with notifications and distractions, the hidden trade-off is the slow erosion of deep, uninterrupted study. We might be celebrating a better test score in the short term while completely missing that we are secretly thinning out a child's fundamental ability to concentrate independently over the long term.
So, how do we fix this? Let's talk about building wise family boundaries.
It is definitely time to move past the fear, the panic, and the urge for rigid control and step into a space of healthy digital calibration. First things first, we need to completely redefine what a boundary actually is. A boundary is not about fear, and it's not about totally rejecting the modern world. It is a filter. Think about a functioning classroom. The rules don't ruin the kid's freedom to learn. The rules actually give the room the shape required for learning to happen in the first place. And here is a crucial takeaway for any parent or caregiver. When you set a digital boundary, your kid is probably going to push back. Hard. But that pushback is not a parenting failure. Discomfort from a child is just a sign that the boundary is successfully doing its exact job, protecting their development.
To help with this, here is an incredibly practical toolkit for digital discernment. Whenever you are evaluating a new digital tool, app, or platform for your home, run it through this simple 4-part mental test. Ask yourself, 1. What specific behavior is this rewarding? 2. What real-world, offline human practice is this replacing? 3. What is it starting to normalize in our everyday lives? And 4. What does it require? Does it need adult guidance, or is it designed to just run on autopilot? Simply asking these 4 questions will completely transform how you evaluate the tech you let into your home.
As we bring this explainer to a close, I want to leave you with this really powerful thought. Good boundaries do not resist growth. They protect the conditions that make growth possible. Setting limits might feel like you are restricting your child in the present moment, but what you are actually doing is preserving their future freedom. You are actively protecting their ability to focus, their capacity to build deep, meaningful relationships, and their power to think completely independently.
Which brings us right back to the anchor question we started with. The most resilient families out there aren't constantly asking, how much technology is everyone else using? Instead, they're asking, what kind of people are we helping our children become? That is the profound question that should guide every single digital decision we make. I hope this explainer has empowered you to look past the glowing screen, to spot the deeper behavioral patterns at play, and to confidently reshape your family's digital environment. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.